Girlybunches, and in this week's video I'm going to be showing you how to do this granny spike stitch. Isn't it really cool? Really simple to do. I personally think it looks great if you use a minimum of 3 colours. So I've got the 3 colours here. It really shows out the pattern that way, you know, the way it rotates. Up the sides here I have got these bits which I would cover up if I was leaving it, you know, I wouldn't be leaving it like that. I would do a border stitch for this if I was doing it as a blanket or a scarf or something. But this is just to save me on ends to sew in. Also gives me more out of my yarn because I'm not having to cut it all the time. But I'll show you that as I go along. Also, the great thing about this pattern is that it is the same on both sides, which is always handy, isn't it? If you're doing a blanket or a scarf or something like that, because you want to have it nice on both sides. I've just used double knit yarn for this project and 4mm hook, so everything normal there. Just use what you would normally do. And yeah, I'm going to get on and show you how to do this fantastic stitch. Okay, so for this project you're going to need a base chain of a multiple of 4. So I've got 16 here, and yeah, I'm going to link in the description box down below where I saw how to do this, and their instructions say to do a multiple of 4 plus 1, but every time I did that it didn't work out to be the right number of stitches. So I'm going to go with multiple of 4 because that worked for me. Maybe I was doing something wrong, but it worked for me and it works overall, so yeah, it worked for me. Okay, so into the 4th chain from the hook, so that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do 2 trebles. So I am British and I use British terminology, and I call a treble, but you may know that as a double crochet. Both valid, but yes, it's what I use and a lot of other people do, but you might know it as something different. In all my videos I have links in the description box to another video that I did that explains the differences if you're not familiar with it. So if you're new to crochet and don't really know, or just never heard that there's a different name for it, then just go and check out that video. Okay, so now we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to skip 3 stitches, so 3 chains, so that's 1, 2, 3, and then into the 4th one along we're going to do 3 trebles. Whoops. It's the same thing if you do it right. Unlike me, there we go. Chain 1, and into that 4th chain along we're going to do 3 trebles. So if you're new to crochet and that first row is difficult for you, it's for everyone. I find it a struggle, and can you see I'm just holding the work here with my hand in those 2 fingers there, just to keep it nice and straight and level as possible. Stop it flapping around, you know. There's no rush with these things. It's nice, take it nice and steady, and yeah, you'll get there in the end. So chain 1, and then again into that 1, 2, 3, 4th chain along you want to do 3 trebles. And I always find this last stitch a fiddly one, so you know, you're not alone if you do as well. Okay, so like I say, nice and steady, take it easy, there's no rush, and there we go, there's my 3rd treble into that last stitch on the chains. Let's pull that up a bit. Okay, so as I mentioned at the beginning, I don't cut the yarn before I add the next colour because I don't want all the ends to sew in. But if you don't want to, if you're just using 2 colours, then by all means just cut the yarn there, fasten that off and attach the next colour. But I'm going to now attach the next colour, so I'm just going to work that back so that I've got 2 loops on my hook, and I'm going to take my next colour, which is going to be this turquoise colour, and I'm just going to put the yarn over the hook and pull it through those 2 loops there, like that, and I can just pull that red bit up there just to firm that up, and then make sure you've got the long tail, not the short one, and start working your next row. So to do that, I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, turn the work around. Okay, so into this chain space we're going to do 1 treble, we're going to do another treble, but this second treble is going to be worked into the second chain along in that 3 chain space there. So there's 1, 2, 3 chains from the very first row, and into that second one along. So this one here, we're going to work the treble. So you're working over this part here. So you just pull the yarn up through like you normally would, put it through the first 2 loops, then through the next 2 loops. Okay, then you're going to do another treble, but you're going to just do it into that gap there. Okay, so where my finger is there, so that's the gap, that's 1 chain gap there, so we're just going to work it into that gap. Okay, and that has made your spike there. So chain 1 and repeat that. 1 treble into the chain space, the next treble will be into that second chain along, so you've got 1, 2, 3, and do it into that chain. So this is the second row, is actually the trickiest row to do. Okay, the next ones will be much easier. So just do your treble as normal. So I'm going to do that again. Let's get some more yarn. So you put the yarn over the hook like you normally would, down into that second chain along. So you've got 1, 2, 3 chains there, so put it into the second one, grab the yarn from behind and bring it up, and then carry on as normal. So yarn over through the first 2 loops, yarn over through the last 2 loops. And then again, I'm going to do 1 treble into that space, so not into the chain but just into that space like we did with that first one there. Okay, so you're getting that spike that's appearing. Okay, chain 1 and repeat that. So 1 treble into the chain space, 1 treble into that second chain along, and I'll let you into a secret. If you can't see where it is, just aim for the middle. Okay, right, there's no rules about this. You just want to aim for the middle. Okay, like that. As long as you're not going underneath it and you're going into that chain, you're all good. And then the last treble into that space, and then 1 more chain, and then we're going to do 1 treble into the top of that 3rd chain at the beginning of that row there. And that 3rd chain is a replacement treble. Okay, so that's your second row done. So again, I'm just going to work that back so that I've just got the 2 loops on my hook. So start the treble and not finish it. Now I'm going to introduce my 3rd colour. And this time it's going to be pink. So I hope you've got your sunglasses on. Okay. So again, I'm just going to loop the yarn over my hook and then pull it through those 2 loops. Don't worry if it separates out like that, because you're just going to pull that tail end to tighten that up a bit for you, and then you can tighten up your new colour on your hook. Just pull that down. Put that out the back. So remember to start working with the long end, not the short end. Okay, and like I said before, you could cut them, it's up to you, but I'm just showing you a way of maybe saving your yarn a bit. Okay, so this time I'm just going to chain 3. So last time we chained 4 at the start of this row, but this time we've got a gap to work in. Last time we had to go over a group there and work into a gap, but this time we're going to go straight into this gap here. So there's chain 3, and you can turn your work around, and this time the treble is going to go into the second treble along from that group on the first row of colour, let's say first row of colour. Okay, and then we're going to do 1 treble into that gap. Okay, So you're only going to start doing that at the beginning of a row. All the others you'll do one treble into it, one treble into the row below, and one treble into the gap, whereas at the start of the row you're just doing chain 3 up to replace your treble and then into the second one along. Okay, chain 1, one treble into the gap, one treble into the second treble of the group of 3 from the previous row, from the first row of colour, and then again one treble into that gap. Okay, so you can see where that spike is forming. Again, one chain into the gap, one treble into the gap, one treble into the top of that group of 3, which is the second one in. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and then into that gap. Chain 1, and on the end here you're just going to do one treble into that gap, one treble into the second treble along. So on this last treble here you have an option here. I think on the pattern that is linked below it says to do it into the third chain from the hook, but I actually found I had a neater edge when I just put it into that gap there and just did it that way. So whatever works better for you, so either do it into the third chain from the hook or just put it into that gap. Because if I show you the one I finished, and that's what I did. See, I just put it into that gap there and it actually comes out as a nicer edge. It's up to you, but yeah, do whatever works for you. Okay, so I'm just going to go back, so I've got 2 loops on my hook so that I can attach the next colour, or you could just fasten that off yourself. Now the next colour for me will be red, so I'm going to pull up that long end which I didn't cut off, and I'm just going to pull that up and then just pull that through. Okay, so that gives me a nice neat edge there. So this time I'm going to chain 4, because when you start off with a group here you want to chain 4 to get you over to this space here, and when you start off a row where you don't have the group but you have a gap, you want to just chain 3 and then work your stitches into that gap. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. You turn your work around and then start working again your trebles, remembering to go into that 1, 2, that second treble along from the second row underneath the one that you're doing. So this is the row that you're working, not that one but the second one underneath, and then work your next treble into that gap. So I hope you can see how it's taking shape here, and you're starting to get that little spike coming through. So I've just finished off that red row, and then I'll just show you that I would now grab this turquoise colour, which is the second colour underneath, and I would just grab that and put it through those 2 loops there, and that's a really neat way of making your edge. And if you do an edging you'll cover up all of those strands there, so it would be it's a good way of not using up too much yarn. And then I will just continue as I did before and then pick up the pink colour at this end. Okay, so if I just show you that there, let's get rid of that turquoise there. You can see there's quite a big gap there, so it doesn't really finish off very neatly. So I think the pattern that I linked to doesn't say anything about finishing it off, so I kind of just winged it, which is always a good way in crochet. Just wing it, whatever looks good, just it works. Okay, so what I did was I just took out the chain stitch that's in between the gaps, and that made it's not got rid of the gap completely. You can still see a little gap, but it's nowhere near as prominently seen if you don't do that. Okay, so just taking out that extra chain makes that a lot neater and gives you off a nice finishing edge. So that is it. You just keep repeating that there. So the principle is the same all the way through, And yeah, I hope you enjoy doing this stitch. So that's the end of the tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, I would love a thumbs up. Why not give me a like down below? And if you haven't already, please, why not subscribe to my channel? And then you will get to see my new videos as and when I upload them, which is once a week. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Before you go, why not check out my last video uploaded before this video, and click on that box in the middle there, and on the right hand side go and check out my Patreon page if you want to. I'd love it if you did that as well. Okay, thanks, bye!